This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a little cooler today, so we're a little
Yes.
happier.
Yes. Well, we have 19 people, so we can get started, so we can honor everyone who's here. How are you this morning? I'll need you to talk to me. In fact, who would like to share something wonderful that happened for you or to you, your school, your district this past school year, as we're bringing the school year to an end? Who would like to share something?
I will. Mary Beth, our district is expanding coaching, so we will have coaches in every building, every elementary building next year, as well as district level coaching. So that's really exciting for our district.
Wonderful. Yes. Wonderful. I remember doing a lot of work there. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Mary Beth. And I know there are other voices in the room. I'm the queen of wait time. Something wonderful, special that happened this school year that you would love to share. We need at least one more.
Dr. Jackson.
Oh, good morning, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Well, something amazing that happened this school year was that I started a campaign early on in the school year to acquire classroom libraries for all of our students K-5. Well, after much conversation, much wrangling and hand-wringing and gnashing of teeth, we finally got our classroom libraries at the end of the school year. And I spent the last 2 weeks inventorying all of that material and getting them set up for distribution in the fall. I'm so excited.
Wonderful. Literacy. Yes. Thank you, Karen. That's great news. Wonderful. Do we have one more?
We have one in the chat, Dr. Jackson, that Mrs. Ortiz added that our 8th graders were able to have a promotion ceremony in person this year.
Yes. Wonderful. And I know they were happy. I taught 8th grade for 15 years, and I know that energy. Thank you. Okay. Well, welcome back. And let's take a look at outcomes for today. So today we're going to examine reflective, personal, and collective strategies designed to improve coaching skills and dispositions. So we're going to talk about self-reflection and collective reflection as you interface with your team, and highlight some of the skills that you utilized from our last discussion. We're going to debrief your coaching community support model. So your instructions from our day 3 was to begin the process of putting the community together. And we'll take a look at that. And then we will forecast strategies and planning for the new school year. So let's take a look at the next slide as I do a quick review and summary. So this is a reminder that we're building an identity as a mediator. Now, what does that mean? Well, day one, we discuss consciousness in great detail. It's all about a consciousness. It's all about expanding awareness. It's all about knowing what's occurring within you and outside of you. We spend a lot of time on that because people can only function at their level of consciousness. And there are times when individuals need partners, coaches, to help them to do that. Coaches that assume the role of mediator know how to frame a conversation, adjust the effectiveness of the conversation based on reciprocal interactions, and then they can measure any changes in thinking that occur. Because remember, a mediator interposed themselves between a person and some perplexing event, problem, conflict, challenge, or situation to enhance another person's thinking. Now, that's a mouthful. And we just deconstructed all of that during our first session. That consciousness is the key. When you become a conscious practitioner, you become aware of moments to mediate. So a mediator stands in between the person and their thinking. Your goal as a coach is to expand the thinking of your coachee so that you build cognitive capital. So consciousness was the first thing we talked about. We discussed conscious practitioner. We spent the first day discussing intentionality, why it's important. And then we begin to take a look at the skills, the power of the pause, and paraphrasing. Two types of paraphrasing: acknowledge and clarify, and summarize and organize. So we begin to look at the PPP process: pausing, paraphrasing, and then we posed questions later. So that first day was rich with consciousness, intention, conscious practitioner, and pausing and paraphrasing. Day two, we explored the intention of posing questions. And there are three types of questions. Probing for specificity, where you're looking for specifics. You're posing the questions for specific answers. The second type, inquiry. Your intent for posing an inquiry question is to expand the thinking. And the third type of question is clarifying. You pose a clarifying question after the coachee has said something. And the term has multiple meanings, and you need clarity so that the coachee understands what he or she is saying, and you have a clear understanding. So we spent a lot of time working with the questions. Day three, we began to pull it all together and define community. How do we sustain these skills? How do we sustain the identity of a conscious practitioner? And we do that by creating a community. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you an opportunity to observe a coaching conversation where you will observe the skills that I just summarized. I want you to look for the question types. I want you to observe the coach, how she coaches. What do you see? What do you hear? And I invite you to take a look at the coachee and the impact of the coaching. What did you notice? What do you see? And after you observe the conversation, it's not a long conversation, we will have a group dialogue to explore the strategies and to answer any questions that you may have concerning the process. Okay, so the next slide.
Hi, are you Miss Moss?
I am. Good morning.
I was told that I needed to come and meet with you.
And your name again is?
Miss Ann, that's what the students call me.
Okay, Miss Ann. It's okay if I call you that?
Sure.
Okay, yes. I'm here as the literacy coach for the school. This will be my first visit to you. And I'm making some visits to all the ELA teachers. And I'm here to just provide you with support, with some coaching support. And really, if there's any type of challenges you might be having or any successes you might want to discuss, that's what I'm here for.
Well, first of all, why are you meeting with me?
Because you're an ELA teacher, that I'm meeting with all the teachers, and I'm providing support to really the entire school of ELA teachers. So I just want you to rest assured I'm not here for monitoring or evaluation, but totally for support. To help you maybe clarify some goals you have for the school year, or maybe just talk about some things you've been considering for your students.
So you think we can do this in about 10, 15 minutes? Because this is
Certainly.
my coordinating period.
And I do want to thank you so much for making time in your busy schedule, and we can certainly talk within this 10-minute time frame for you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So what have you been thinking about this school year, about your students, or about upcoming school year?
Well, you know, this is the beginning of the school year, so I'm really busy. One thing is, you know, I've been teaching for over 25 years. And all of a sudden we get a brand new principal, young, I don't know how many years she has in education, and she came in over the summer and she changed our schedule, curriculum, everything for English language arts. So yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated about that after teaching the 3rd grade for so long.
Okay. So you're frustrated with a lot of the changes, and you have a lot of expertise in your area,
Yes.
and you may be wondering what might be some effects of those changes for your students.
Yes, because in fact, I work with a lot of the new teachers over the years when they come in. So I'm just wondering what's behind this conversation. Because one thing is she changed my schedule, so I'm upset. I'm now moving from the 3rd grade to the 4th grade, which she considers looping. And all of a sudden she decided on a few of us at specific grade levels to loop with our students.
So there's been a decision made by administration to start looping
Yes.
with some of the
Yes.
teachers.
Yes.
Tell me more about looping.
Well, basically, it's the students that I had last year in the 3rd grade. Now I'm going to teach them for the 4th grade. And I've never taught 4th grade before. I've always stayed in the lower elementary. For the last 10 years, I've been teaching 3rd grade. The parents always loved me teaching the 3rd grade. I enjoyed the 3rd grade. I have everything all set. And now I got to change everything. And it was something that we really had nothing to give our input about. She just decided to go with the looping. So it's a matter of now changing everything into the 4th grade.
So as a 3rd grade teacher, you felt very comfortable, very competent in teaching 3rd
Oh,
grade.
yes. Oh, yes.
And now you may have to make some changes because you'll be going to teaching 4th grade.
Right.
So as you think about teaching 4th grade, what might be some differences between teaching 3rd grade and 4th grade?
Well, of course, 4th grade, you know, you're getting into, as far as language arts, a whole lot more with complex reading skills. I mean, you're moving from very literal type of questions after reading a story into inferential and evaluative. Vocabulary, of course, is more complex. I mean, even the informational texts. I mean, in the 3rd grade, of course, I was responsible in my homeroom to teach social studies and a little bit of science, but now I really have to get into the social studies. So I know that informational text is a big piece of the curriculum for the 4th grade. And that's something that, since I'm looping and I know my students, that I haven't done a lot of, and I know that.
So one of the big differences between 3rd and 4th grade would be that you'll need to focus on informational text, and that really the complexity of skills is much greater in the 4th grade than in the 3rd grade.
Yes, right, which of course is going to require me to do a lot more preparation since I didn't know about this change. So that's what I've been trying to do, is get all my things together so I can do some prep work and planning with the reading series and the social studies textbook and everything that is required for that particular grade.
So planning is one thing that you you have to address. You've begun that process. What are some of the strategies you've been using in your planning for this 4th grade?
Well, you know, I always did a little bit of grouping, okay? I always did that. In 3rd grade, they enjoy that, you know, because of the social aspect. And, you know, differentiated instruction is always the big strategy, you know, the most relevant strategy that's out there. And so I've been doing that. But I think with the 4th grade, I'm really thinking about with that informational text. That's kind of like sticking up there, that I have to do more with that. And I know my students have struggled with that. And I'm just wondering whether or not I need to kind of meet them where they're at. And that's something I've been kind of thinking about within the class, but maybe grouping them maybe just a little homogeneously for the informational text part and working with social studies. And maybe that would help. So I don't want to do a whole lot of different things right now. I'm trying to get, of course, my feet wet with the 4th grade curriculum. But I'm thinking of incorporating that approach, meeting them where they're at right now.
Okay. Let's discuss. So Laura, I like to see the group. Okay. And I invite you to turn on your camera so I can see your faces. And how beautiful you look today. All right, so you had an opportunity to observe a coaching conversation that was rich with the skills. What did you see? What skills did you notice? Identify those skills for me. And discuss with me, what did you notice?
I heard her doing some paraphrasing.
Yes. And what was the impact of that?
She had a teacher focusing on what it was her needs were. The things that she said that she was struggling with, she paraphrased, and the teacher was able to recognize that those were the things that she needed to work on, because she followed right back up with, I think I need to, and she started explaining those things she needed to do.
Yes, so you noticed a paraphrasing, Robin, acknowledging and clarifying for the coachee. Yes, thank you. What other strategies did you notice?
The teacher, the coach met the teacher in her classroom, the teacher's classroom, and gave her lots of time to talk. And at first, the teacher did not even want to speak with her, but then she got warmed up because the coach was just listening, and she started telling what was really bothering her. And that was helpful.
Yes. So what do we call that? By her meeting with the teacher in her classroom, listening. What is the term for that? She was building what?
Relationships. Building
Yes.
a relationship.
Building a rapport. Yes, building a rapport. Yes, starting with the rapport by acknowledging her. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Now her listening was skillful. What did you see? What other skills did you notice? We saw the paraphrasing, building rapport, other skills.
I just appreciated watching her sit back in the chair and you know, I know we're supposed to mirror, right? As a coach, we want to mirror the person that we're coaching. But she was just so calm, and she didn't come in with an agenda. She just sat back and she listened. And I feel like when we watch something like that, it just makes me remember, oh yes, I'm not coming in with the answers. I'm not coming in, you know, with a step-by-step process. I'm just going to sit back and listen, especially with the a first visit, right? And getting to know. So because she was so relaxed, you could watch that impact of the coachee just kind of settle in, because she didn't want to be there. She was really pushing back at first, and she was able to settle in. And I think the way that the coach presented herself helped to support that comfortability.
Yes. And it was skillful. So what skill did she use to assist the coachee in becoming comfortable? What was the major skill? What's the most powerful skill that we've talked about? What is the most powerful skill? You're like, huh, which one? What is, we got, trying to remember.
Isn't it
The
paraphrasing? Pausing.
Yes. Yeah, it's the paraphrase.
Paraphrasing.
Yes. The paraphrasing is the most powerful skill. Before Dale posed any questions, she paraphrased. So you're concerned about teaching fourth grade. Everything that the teacher offered, the coach paraphrased it, not parroting. She paraphrased, which communicated that she was listening. Now, what types of questions did you notice? Now, there's probing for specificity. There is inquiry and clarifying.
I feel
When
like
did
she
she
clarified.
What question did anyone pick up on the question she used? Now remember, clarifying is when the coachee says something that may have multiple meanings that need clarity. What was this topic about that needed clarity?
When she said, tell me more about looping.
Yes, yes.
Tell me more about
She says, tell me more about looping. That's a clarifying question, because looping may have multiple meanings, and everyone doesn't understand what looping means. So she was able to clarify that. She used the probing for specificity when she said, what are some of the strategies she used? That's a probing for specificity. That's the characteristics. It's direct, it gives you a simple answer. She used an inquiry question. Who can tell me the characteristics of an inquiry question? What were some of the characteristics? And I know it's been a while, so you're working on your mental computer to pull forth your memory. What is one characteristics of an inquiry question? And I know you don't have your notes in front of you, so I'm pulling from your memory bank.
So I would say when she originally started the conversation, so what would you like to talk about? What are some challenges you've experienced?
Okay, so what type of question would that be?
So I think originally the first question would have been inquiry, like what, because you needed to find out what, like just a general, what area would you like to focus our conversation on today? So
Okay,
there
so
wasn't yet that follow-up of the specificity.
So you're wondering if that's a specificity. So that would be a probing. That would be probing, not inquiry.
Okay.
So I want you make sure you all, and it's great. I'm glad you are bringing this up, Tanya, because we want to know that the differences in the characteristics. So when you use a probing for specificity, it's asking a simple question like, what are some challenges? It can be answered very quickly. Inquiry is going to expand the thinking, it's futuristic, and it's tentative language. So she said, what might be some reasons? So with an inquiry, you're going to hear might, plurals, reasons. And if you probably don't remember because the video went pretty quickly, but it caused Pat to pause. An inquiry causes the coachee to pause and think because the answer is not readily available. The answer has to be thought through. Okay. So this is going to be some of the work that you'll do in your community, is to help you to discern the different questions and the intent for it. What tends to happen with educators, we pose a lot of probes: when, what, where, how, why. We tend not to pose inquiry. Inquiry questions create the largest amount of mediation because the person has to think. Okay. Posing questions are very powerful, but they're not decided by you. The coachee drives the conversation. As you noticed in the video, who was in the driver's seat? Who was in the driver's seat in the video?
The coachee.
Yes, the coachee drove it. Dale created a space, a holding space for Pat to have the conversation. She didn't pre-plan her questions. The questions surfaced as a result of Pat's comments. Okay? I want you to remember that. In a coaching conversation, you're not pre-planning the questions. They're driven by your coaching. And that's how you know when it's time to pose. There'll be times when you will only paraphrase because you're trying to understand what the coachee needs. So it's a very, very powerful process. After that conversation, Dale did some self-reflection. She began to talk about her intent, how she thought the conversation went. After that, we participated in a collective dialogue where the team provided collective feedback, because the only way we get better is by having the feedback. And I am thankful that you all took the risk to talk, because the only way we get better is that we share our thinking, right? If you don't share your thinking, it's going to be difficult for your coach to share his or her thinking. So as you grow into confidence around using the model, you will begin to see the results. And remember, as I said day one, there's no right or wrong. Non-judgment. It's not right or wrong. The question is, am I effective? Not did I do it right, but was it an effective conversation? Okay. So let's take a look at the next slide. Thank you, folks. Thank you. So a thought to ponder, and I want you to ponder this. Self-reflection is like looking into a mirror and describing what you see. You see, reflecting helps you to develop your skills and review your effectiveness, rather than just continuing to do things as you have always done them. If you continue to do things as you've always done them, you're going to get the same results. So self-reflection is a conscious process. Remember, it's all about consciousness, being aware of self and others, and knowing in the moment when you need to make some adjustment with your thinking. It is about questioning in a positive way why you do and what you do and why you do it. Remember, our big question is, why are you doing this and why are you doing it this way? So it's what you do and why you do it, and then deciding whether there's a better or more efficient way of doing it in the future. So self-reflection is key before you can effectively mediate someone else's thinking. Okay, next slide. So we're going to participate in an activity with 2 assignments. The first one is you're going to reflect on your listening questionnaire from session 1, and then take a look at what changes have you noticed. And those of you who weren't with us, this will give you an opportunity to take the quiz, the questionnaire rather. So I want you to take a look at, am I better at listening now? So you will take a look at your listening questionnaire. You'll have a few minutes to do that. And then the next slide, you're going to reflect on these questions. An important attribute to coaching is personal reflections. So you're going to reflect on the following prompts and write your responses. So the first one is the values that guide my actions in coaching others. What are the values that drive my actions in coaching others? What are some of my beliefs about learning? What is my purpose in coaching others? You want to explore that. Is it to tell or is it to mediate? My hopes and aspirations for those I coach, what are they? And the things I need to learn to be more effective as a coach. So I'm going to invite you to spend about 5 minutes to revisit the listening questionnaire, to jot down your thinking to the reflection questions, and then we'll come back together and we're going to divide you into teams. Let's say maybe triads. What we have, 26? Maybe pairs or triads. Laura, whatever you think might be most effective. Where you will have an opportunity to discuss with a partner your reflections. Okay, so step 1, review your listening questionnaire. Step 2, respond to the reflection questions. And we'll give you a time, 5 minutes to do this, 5 to 7 minutes. And then we will divide you into smaller pods so that you can have a rich conversation. Okay. What questions might you have concerning this task? Okay, we'll start the timer. Please take some time, about 7 minutes, to respond to the reflection. Okay, we're ready to divide you into smaller groups for some dialogue.
And Dr. Jackson, did you say you wanted them in small groups for about 7 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, going to go ahead and open the rooms.
Wonderful. Welcome back. So, what were some insights? What did you learn about you that you're willing to share?
Well, I had the sheer pleasure of hanging out with Dr. Jackson in our breakout room, which was the main room. But I told her that this is a really hard concept for me to, I always want to jump to advising, and I have to slow my brain down and listen and wait, which is hard for me, and just kind of get all of the information and, kind of, like I said, be in that moment, be quiet, listen, take it all in. And then at the very end, work towards, would you like a suggestion, or, do you feel comfortable with some, advice on this issue or something like that? But yeah, so I'm a work in progress.
Yes. So you became aware that you still have a need to advise. And that's a common stance that we take. In fact, many of us do that. And the reason this whole model of cognitive coaching and coaching was designed was because of the cognitive capital. There's so much intellect in a room that is untapped because we don't know how to tap it. And when you are the only one giving advice, who's getting better and stronger? You, not your coachee, right? So it's always challenging to learn a new skill because we judge ourselves when we're learning something new. Am I going to do it well? Will I fail? And understand the thinking behind that. Remember, we talked about this day one. There's a difference between a learning orientation and a performance orientation. In a performance orientation, there's a belief that intelligence is fixed and that there's very little that you can do about it. So people spend their time trying to prove adequacy. So if I'm the sharpest knife in the drawer, then I'm proving I'm the best, right? So in a performance orientation, the dominant concern is to prove adequacy. And so when you're talking with teachers, and that's the belief that they're holding, their goal is to prove that they're smart when they're around you, not to get better. And when you start to tell them things, it makes them feel less adequate. It's like an oxymoron there. But in a learning orientation, the dominant concern is to improve because the belief that guides that is that there's continuous learning and continuous improvement. And it's not based on innate ability. So when you learn how to pose powerful questions, you're tapping into the cognitive capital that's available. So belief drives everything that we talked about before, the lens that you wear. When you hear something, it's funneled through your lens. And if your lens is one of performance, your behavior will be in alignment with that intent, as we talked about, intention. So the more we work at it, the more we improve, the better we get at it. And it doesn't mean that we're not smart because we have to put some effort in. Individuals who believe in a performance orientation believe that the harder you work, the dumber you must be. Because effort doesn't help you to get smart. But individuals who believe in a learning orientation understand the key to getting smart is effort. The only way you get better is by having a repertoire of strategies. And these strategies help you to get better. So when you're coaching and you find out that the teacher needs help, then you transfer over to your other hat, which is your consulting hat. Because if the coachee says to you, I don't know how to do it, you don't want to say, so as you think about, I'm not thinking, I don't know. So then you say, might I offer a strategy? It's an invitation, right? So the belief about intelligence is very important as we think about proceeding with this work. Anyone else, insight that you had while you were talking with your team or your partner? Other insight?
I'll share. I'm new to all of this, but I was talking with Lynn, and it was funny how this like went right in hand with the training I'm doing the last couple of days. We've been working with Bridget. We adopted a new curriculum in our district, collaborative classroom. And one of the sessions yesterday was talking about the learning pit. And it was talking about how when you're trying to learn something new, you go in on one side and this is hard. I don't think I can get this. And then you come out on the other side and it's like, well, if I just try a little bit harder, I'm almost there. And then it's, that negative talk to positive talk. And understanding that the grit gets you out on the other side. But it was talking about as teachers, our natural way is to build a plank across the learning pit and to scaffold so much because we don't like to see people struggle. And I thought, well, that's exactly what we could do, or you could do as a coach if you don't want to. You know, it's our nature to help people, and we don't want to see people struggle, and we know how much people have on their plates, and we want to help. But if we help too much, then we take that struggle away from our teachers that we're coaching.
Exactly, Brianna. You hit the nail on the head. If we help too much, we stop people from thinking. And see, the only way to get better is to activate your cognition, to expand your consciousness. If I'm dependent on someone else to help me think, I can't get better. And there's unlimited capacity in our brains. Consciousness is the key. As you indicated, Brianna, that, you know, we're looking at that. And so we debilitate teachers by giving them the answers. And then they want the answers. They'll say, well, tell me what you want me to do. No, I want you to think about it. But the more skillful you're at it, it helps. And then consciousness becomes a real key. For example, you know, I've shared with you, I've been doing this work a long time, but I had a real powerful self-reflection recently when a friend of mine who teaches second grade said to me that out of 24 students, only 3 of them would be able to move on to 3rd grade. I immediately became aware of my judgment. My administrator hat kicked in. And I wanted to say, what? Well, what were you teaching? But that would have debilitated her. But I became aware I was in judgment because consciousness is the key. So I paused and I paraphrased. I said, so you're concerned about the academic achievement of all your students? And she began to cry. And so the point of me coaching her wasn't to blame her, but to keep her consciousness active so that she can begin to explore what happened. And there was a lot going on. Kids were on platform half of the year, policies in the school, so there was a lot. After coaching her, she was able to identify some areas in which she could have improved, but didn't walk away thinking that it was her fault. And as a result, we looked at some of the testing, and then it ended up with more of them made it than not. But I shared that story as a self-reflection story as I became aware of judgment. I became aware that if I stayed in that consciousness, I couldn't coach her. So the neutrality of a coach is very important. And then I said to her, what strategies might you need next year to help you get stronger? What type of question did I pose? What type of strategies might you need? What type of question type? What type of question is that?
It's an inquiry.
Yes. Don't be afraid to shout it out. Yes. Inquiry. Because if she knew, she would have done it, right? But what strategies might you? So then she begins to think, because the inquiry causes you to think for the future. And so I became totally present with her when she began to cry. I didn't save her from her tears because that's not what we're supposed to do. We want them to stay in the moment of and affirm what she was feeling. And when I said, so you are concerned about the academic achievement of all your students, that affirmed her. Instead of saying, well, you know, I would be crying too if all my students didn't make it. You know, that would, so would that have been appropriate? No. So we honor each other. We activate the thinking of each other. We stand in between the person and their thinking. And we become very aware of who we are. So that's why self-reflection is so important. Other thoughts before we move on? Did you find it helpful to dialogue with a partner? To share your thinking? Good. So I'm going to show another short video and then we'll take a break. I love to show videos the last day because it's the summer and I know your brain needs a little activity. So changing the modality a little bit helps. So this is it's not a coaching conversation. It's just some information for you, some thoughts to ponder around self-reflection. It will summarize what we've talked about and close that part of it. We'll take a break and then we'll delve into the collective feedback. Okay. So this is interesting. It's not long, just a minute.
Hi, this is Gary Gopal and welcome to my Guerrilla Life Coaching videos. 5 times a week, I talk about a quote that can help you move your life to a better, healthier, and happier place for you. And I hope you gain a lot of value from these videos. So how are you doing today? I hope you feel reflective because today our quote of the day is people who had little self-reflection live life in a huge reality blind spot by Brian McGill. Reflection is an active and serious thought process that examines your reason for believing in one thing instead of another through hard evidence. Reflection is an active and controlled thought process. It means focusing your attention on something and critically thinking about it. And why is reflection so important in our everyday life? Well, because without reflective thought on subjects that are important to us and on life in general, we would live life in the same way with never any change or improvement. No new technologies would come around and life would be, for some people, it is not good for humanity as a whole. And when you stop evolving, you are really in the dying process. Reflective thought allows you to imagine possibilities and consider new ways for things to happen. This type of thought process must be persistent and focused on one subject at a time. You must stick to one problem or one issue and make sense out of it in your mind. Have you ever thought to yourself why you think one way when you could be thinking another way just as well? Well, this is important as it allows you in the confines of your mind to see reality through perhaps different eyes. Maybe you think something is true, but if you reflected upon it, you would see that it is only an opinion, and opinions can be changed, whereas truth cannot. Curious about yourself and your choices so that you can improve yourself. You become more aware of potential issues that may harm you. And when you become aware of something, only then can you really improve it. Therefore, self-reflection is the best process to help you reach your full potential. Rethink, re-examine, reconsider your behaviors and where they came from. Allow yourself to notice if you missed anything before that was not evident to you previously. The focus of your reflection can be on something that is not working well in your life at the moment, or something that is working extremely well in your life at the moment. This self-reflection will help you pause any further actions in the field of life that you are not making progress in and allow you to find out why you are thinking, saying, and doing certain things. And once you understand why you are behaving in a certain way, you can easily improve your behaviors to ones that will benefit you rather than harm you. And when you reflect on something that is working, you will see which behaviors, thoughts, and actions are benefiting you, and you can use them more often. Whenever I find myself after a situation that didn't make me feel good, or I wake up with a certain unexplainable bad feeling, I reflect on my actions of the previous day and examine my thoughts, actions, and behaviors to see what my intuition is trying to tell me about them. This is self-reflection. It helps you understand yourself better and your choices better. Once you understand yourself better, you also become naturally more assertive and simply happier. You have more self-love and self-understanding and self-respect as to why you are doing what you are doing, and you can then continue down a path that is unique for you and good for you. And this is where your power lies. By self-reflection, you are judging yourself instead of accepting other people's judgment on a matter. And this is very powerful, both for business and for personal life skills. Self-reflection must come from real openness and by choosing to pay close attention to something. This allows you to admit not knowing perhaps something, and this not knowing opens you up to new ways of thinking and behaving. And when reflecting, you will notice that most of your beliefs do not come from you learning a subject or understanding it or your personal experience, but that most of your beliefs are actually taken on through faith in other people's beliefs. So you want to ensure that you are taking on beliefs that either come from your own personal experience or knowledge or from credible sources. And if they do come from credible sources, then you can still search for good reasons to accept or reject their expert opinion. When you get a doctor's opinion, for example, on a certain matter, then they say what they think is best for you to do in your case. And you can search the internet today and see if other doctors also recommend the same thing and if this is really a good idea and it makes sense or not. This is critical. This is critical thinking, and this is reflection. Think that there are alternative ways to do things, and they may be better than your way or the doctor's way. Be open to alternative ways of doing things. Be curious and get the best information while reflecting on a subject to ensure that you are making the best choices for yourself with the knowledge available for you. Journaling is a great method that is very helpful for self-reflection as well, allowing you to explore your ideas and opinions and develop them more thoughtfully. After every reflection, you should come to your own conclusions, and from there, you want to plan your future actions. I recommend reflection for every goal that you have made for yourself. Why do you have this goal? What does it matter to you? What will reaching this goal help you do and become? Are you honest with yourself about this? Are you being rational? How could you improve? And what if you changed your opinion? These are all very good questions for self-reflection on each field of life. Margaret J. Wheatley said that without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful. As an entrepreneur, reflection is really the only way to make any real progress. If you don't reflect, you will not come up with unique ideas, and you will tend to imitate, or worse yet, come up with bad ideas that will lead to harsh consequences. For the most effective actions, you certainly want to take some quiet time each week to reflect, and I even recommend doing this daily. You can reflect while exercising, cleaning the dishes, folding the laundry, or while driving, but it is absolutely best to devote 20 minutes of every day to the process of self-reflection. Self-reflect on your behaviors, your choices, and your actions in all important fields of life, such as career, relationships, health, peace of mind, and purpose. You can assess your strengths, your failures, and think through actions and your interactions with other people. By doing this simple act daily, you will achieve most effective action for your future. So as I always do with these videos, today I will provide you with a few questions to ask yourself so that the answers will help move your life to a better place for you. And the questions of the day are, in important life areas, am I really choosing the best option for me? And why am I choosing this option? And how would I improve myself if I chose to do things differently? And what things could open up for me if I thought differently? And should I think differently? And what would come out of my life if I thought differently on this matter? And what is the best option for me and the best option overall? And why should I do this? These are just a few questions that you can ask yourself for your career, relationships, spirituality, your health. These will help you to reflect on important matters in your life and open up your mind to new ways of doing things. So as usual, I recommend writing down these questions and your answers in a notebook, especially prepared for these coaching sessions, so that you can look over them and make sure that you're moving your life in the best direction for you. And the affirmation of the day to close off this video with is, I reflect on my actions in order to perform better next time. I reflect on my actions in order to perform better next time. Now you want to repeat this affirmation to yourself as many times as you remember to do so, because with repetition, an affirmation has the power to completely transform your life for the better. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please also subscribe to my channel and ring the notifications button to get notified every time I upload a new video. Also, please visit my website, thegorilladiet.com, for anything to help you move your health and wellness to a better level for you. Thank you very much for joining.
The next slide. So what type of questions did she pose for you at the end? What type of questions were they? She posed several questions. What type?
I think it was inquiry again, because she asked questions to make you think about, you know, different options in your life, the processes that you go through.
Now, what is the characteristics of an inquiry?
Might, the word might is
Yes.
it?
Yes. Did you hear might in those last questions?
No.
So,
No, it did. So maybe it would be more probing questions.
yes, you got it. It was probing for specificity, all of them. Because she wanted just some clear answers. She gave you some probes. And once you start noticing this, you'll start noticing the different types in everything that you do. You'll start seeing it. So what were some key ideas highlighted in this video? How might some of the insights apply to your coaching development? And what questions might be important for you to explore? What were some key ideas highlighted in this video?
I really liked how she focused on journaling. I feel like that's a good tool for me after a coaching conversation to journal and be like automatic reflection about how it went.
Yes, excellent strategy. That's the self-reflection, the journal. I used to do that all the time after my coaching, and it really provided tremendous insight. Thank you. Other ideas, key ideas.
I liked
Go
how
ahead.
she said that you could reflect, like doing the dishes, doing some chores, wherever you are, just having that moment to just think of things when you're just going on your daily life, 20 minutes of something like that. And I do that a lot too, just kind of think when I'm doing something, if I'm just riding a bike or just clearing your mind. I like how she had that there.
Yes. And that lifts consciousness. The more you're reflecting, the more expansive your consciousness will become. Thank you. Other insights.
I'm paraphrasing, but I like how she pointed out that we shouldn't seek to for others to validate us, that we should validate ourselves through our self-reflection. And so when you have an idea, you know, you go with it, seek credible people, and then choose whether you're going to accept or reject that.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's based through a lens of learning, the learning orientation.
I really,
Go
I
ahead.
apologize. I really appreciated her focus on rethinking and re-examining our behaviors and how that can lead you to developing goals and understanding if those goals are really helpful to you.
Exactly. Which resonates with the reflection that you did. What is my goal for coaching? Why do I coach? And it gives you, yes, it helps you to have insight into that. And she said something very powerful. We tend to be driven by beliefs from other people and not our own. And if you you become aware of it, how you need others' approval if you're not self-reflecting. And you become aware that I want to save my coachee versus mediate my coachee's thinking. And self-reflection will help you to take a look at that. Did I give the strategy too soon? Did I want to save her because I didn't want her to suffer? Whatever suffering means to you. You see. So the self-reflection helps to do that. And then once you start to have self-reflection with a partner or your community, you will garner even more insight because your community can paraphrase what you've said so you could actually hear it. Other insights that resonated with you, or what questions might be important for you to explore?
I think one important thing she mentioned was to focus on one thing for your self-reflection. I think a lot of times our coaches are thinking about a lot of things. And if we observe their room, sometimes we are thinking of a lot of things that we can help build for them. So focusing on one thing at a time.
Yes, yes. And helping them to think clearly about that one thing. And then for you, you may decide, okay, I'm going to work on paraphrasing. I'm not going to worry about the question types right now. I'm going to become highly skilled at paraphrasing and then reflect on it. Did I have an opportunity to paraphrase? And I didn't do it. Why? When I paraphrase, oh, did it make a powerful difference? Yes. Oh, I'm getting better at it. And the more you do that, the better you will become utilizing this process. For example, on the slide, what type of question is the first one? What were some of the key ideas highlighted in the video? What type of question is that?
Probing?
Yes. If you notice, I'm consistently asking you about the types. Second one, how might some of the insights apply to your coaching development? Type of question.
That's inquiry.
Yes, because you don't know yet. How might some of the insights that you heard, how might they help you? And they're all for your thinking. What questions might be important for you to explore? What does that question cause you to do? What questions might be important for you to explore? What does it cause you to do?
Causes us to analyze and evaluate and come up with some deeper thinking.
Yes, yes. Because now you'll say, I wonder what. Okay. So now you're thinking. So the inquiry generates the thinking. Because you start to analyze as you're indicating. It's the higher levels of Bloom. Probing for specificity is the lowest level of Blooms. It's just understanding. But when you go to an inquiry, you're expanding the thinking. Yes. One more question before we take a break? Anything else? Did you find the video helpful? Show me by nodding. Since I can't hear some of your voices. Good. Self-reflection is the key, as I indicated how I self-reflect when I interfaced with the teacher concerning her second grade students. It provided just tremendous insight for me. And so self-reflection is the key. So after the break, we've closed out the self-reflection, the power of it, our review. After the break, we're going to begin to talk about building a sense of community, which was the task from day 3. And then we'll delve into the work that you did and highlighting your thinking and posing some additional questions. Sounds like a plan? Okay, well, we will take a serious break, 15-minute break, and we will return so that you can give you an opportunity to refresh your coffee, grab a quick snack, and return ready to rock and roll. All right? Okay, see you in 15 minutes. Okay, has everyone returned? I need to see your faces. That lets me know. Wonderful. So let's take a look at the next slide. So now we're going to take a look at building a sense of community. And I shared this definition on day 3, but I just want to reiterate it so that it's in your head. A community is a group of individuals who have learned how to communicate honestly with each other, whose relationships go deeper than their mask of composure, and who have developed some significant commitment to rejoice together, mourn together, and to delight in each other, making others' conditions their own. And I shared with you how I was a part of a community like this for 5 years, where all of the skills that I've been teaching you, we lived by those skills. And so as a result, there is automaticity. It is our identity. It is who I am. I'm a mediator. That's what I do. That's my identity. And it is strengthened through community by having other individuals who are honest, who are transparent, who value our relationship. We can go to each other and talk about things and receive coaching and not judgment. This community helps us to understand when it's time to switch our hats. It is a professional community because what we do is we strive to help each other to become more proficient with our skill set. And so we are able to go deeper than the mask of composure, the mask of trying to look smart, but to go deeper in our consciousness and our awareness. The next slide. So, as I indicated before, the term professional community is striking when it is applied to the working cultures of schools. The word professional has its roots in profess, meaning to declare, to own, and to claim a body of knowledge. Let that resonate right there. So it is to claim a body of knowledge. What is that body of knowledge? The PPP process. Pause, paraphrase, and pose questions. That's the body of knowledge that I've invited you to hone and internalize. It therefore implies a level of expertise with a strong technical core that can be clearly articulated by practitioners. That's why I say to you, what type of question is that? Because I'm reinforcing the body of knowledge that I taught you the first 2 days. And I'm communicating an expectation that you're going to own and claim this body of knowledge and be able to use it as a practitioner, a conscious practitioner who has set an intention to mediate thinking. And I, several years ago, we would teach a class, and Laura's probably a part of this. We taught what we called was going deep, coaching, going deep. And one of the sessions was was on the 4 hats. A question was posed, are you always coaching? We said, no, you're not always coaching. There are times when you will have to shift your hat to facilitate. Or there are times when you are presenting. And then there are times when you are consulting. 4 different intentions, and you're very clear consciously when to switch. What tends to happen with coaches, we spend a lot of time facilitating and not coaching. Although when you're a facilitator, you are using the coaching skills, but when you're coaching, you are mediating thinking. But there is a point during the coaching conversation where you hear that it's time to switch the hat to your expertise. So let's say that a teacher says, well, I'm struggling with the 6 steps to the writing process. You pause, you paraphrase, you say, so for you, the writing process is not as smooth as you would like it. The teacher says, yes. As you think about the 6 steps, which step is creating the most difficulty for you? The teacher says, well, I'm struggling with step 4. I just can't seem to hit the target with that step. Pause, paraphrase. So step 4 has become a complicated issue for you. The teacher says yes. Now, when you hear that, that's a signal that step 4 needs some expertise from you. So you say, so step 4 is around A, B, and C. I happen to have some strategies that might help you. Would you like for me to share those with you? Now I've switched from mediator to expert, but it's an invitation. I will give those strategies and then coach the teacher after that. Are you with me? So when you are in community, your community can help you with the switching, because you're sharing with them. You had a difficult coaching conversation, or you had a great coaching conversation. You share it in your community, and your community can provide you with feedback based on the expertise, the technical knowledge that the group reinforces that you use. Your thoughts about that? What are you thinking? Some of you are saying, well, I'm not thinking much because my brain still hasn't turned on yet because it's the end of the school year.
I was just going to say that I'm fortunate to be in a district with multiple coaches, so that we do meet regularly and we talk and we discuss what we're doing and how it's going. And that has been a huge support. Yes,
yes. So what you're highlighting is that you are in a community where you have an opportunity to share and garner ideas from each other. Yes, thank you. Others, you're thinking about this statement. And questions around when do I change hats? When is it appropriate to do that? Any questions about that?
It was a couple of simple statements you made, but it really helps provide clarity. And I think, as you just mentioned, the question would be, when do I switch hats? And that invitation piece is probably one of the most key things. So the coachee is open to receiving your expertise.
Yes, exactly. And it stops you from offering insight to what you think the coachee needs. At that point, the coachee will say, no, I don't need information about step 4. I need information about step 5, right? So there are times we think from our observation that we should provide support in one area without consulting the coach. But once you consult the coachee, you find out, oh, the person needs support in a different area. And the invitation, as you indicated, Kathy, is that the coachee will be more willing to hear it from you. And the coachee will not feel that there's something wrong with his or her intellect, but that I just need support. Because we're support partners with our coachees. We're there to support their development. Other thoughts? Okay. The next slide. Let's see the next slide.
No.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you another short video. This helps to keep you awake, you know? It changes the modality a little bit. It is fun. So we're discussing why build a coaching culture. And it's so important. And I want you to remember how important it is. The work that we do is so difficult. It's hard work. And when we have individuals in our groups that support us and push us and assist us with our thinking, it happens much faster, and it's not as hard. I could not function without my team. I think did I share with you earlier that we still hang out every month, our little group who we started our coaching group. We still hang out every month. And in fact, tomorrow morning, we're going to see Dr. Strange at 11:30 a.m. at the movie theater. So, and we coach each other all the time. If we have family issues, we call each other. Relationship issues, we call each other. So the community can be professional as well as personal. But once you develop the sense of trust and relationship, and when the group makes a decision to assist you in getting better at your craft, you accelerate. It's just really beautiful. So why build a coaching culture? We'll watch this short video, and then we'll have time to begin to take a look at the cultures that you build. Okay.
This video gives an overview of why build a coaching culture. Culture is a mixture of things that are visible and things that are invisible. It's been described as how we do things around here. Examples of things that are visible are behaviours, like an unspoken rule that you bring cakes to the team on your birthday. Also language, like job titles, and symbols, like the size of offices. Some of the invisible aspects of culture that are going on underneath the surface are values and beliefs, such as believing it is important to swap shifts to cover for absent colleagues, or having a value of fairness. It is in the area of values and beliefs where culture can be deep-seated. The good news is that by changing behaviour, the visible stuff, you can start to impact on the values and beliefs underneath. So if you start with behaviour first, culture will follow. An important point here is to recognise that leadership behaviour is one of the most powerful indicators of culture. People take their cue from what they see you doing. By choosing to spend some of your time coaching, you will demonstrate that it's important and inspire others to do the same. So what do we mean by a coaching culture? According to 2 professors in coaching research, a coaching culture is one where coaching is the predominant style of management and working together, where commitment to improving the organisation is embedded in a parallel commitment to improving the people. what does a coaching culture look like? Going back to our definition, if coaching is the predominant style of management and working together, and there is a belief that improving the organisation's performance will only happen through its people, then here are some of the things you will see and hear. The stories people tell about what it's like to work here will be positive. If you don't think people tell stories, think back to when you just started a job. It's likely people were quick to tell you what to expect, which boss was approachable, which one wasn't, and so on. Behaviours and routines will be visible. Simple things like having one-to-ones with your direct reports and having discussions pre- and post-learning. For example, asking them what they learned from attending a course and how they intend to apply this learning. People will be encouraged to recognise opportunities for learning in day-to-day work. People will take responsibility for errors and learn from them, knowing that they won't be blamed for being open about what could have gone better. Individuals will share knowledge and collaborate with each other. Coaching will be used by the strongest performers, not just with the focus on performance issues. Feedback will be given and accepted and even sought out. Note that you don't need regular formal sessions labelled as coaching to have a coaching culture, and coaching doesn't all need to come top down from you. But hang on, if it was that easy, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't we? This section is designed to be a reality check where we consider realities and some of the things that might get in the way. Is it doable? Building a coaching culture can start from small beginnings. It doesn't require grand gestures. Done right, coaching is a positive experience for people, so it tends to create a ripple effect as more and more people get interested in it and start using it themselves. Creating a coaching culture is an ongoing commitment. Like leadership, it's not something you can tick. We think a better question is, what will I have to give up to make time for coaching? And yes, telling people what to do will be quicker. However, command and control will only get you so far. To sustain a coaching culture, an ongoing commitment is needed, and this needs to stick even when things get tough and you face challenges. Think about time spent coaching as an investment which will pay you back when it starts to free you up from telling people the same thing a number of times. What if people expect to be told? If they've always been told in the past, they will expect to be told. That is not the same thing as wanting to be told. Credit to Sir John Whitmore, who originated the GROW model of coaching, for this quote. Is coaching the answer to everything? It's important to remind ourselves that coaching is a style of management. It's not a magic wand for all issues, and it isn't always the best solution. Clearly, there are operational situations where a more directive style is appropriate. As you develop as a coach, you'll find your intuition about when to use coaching and when not to use it is usually correct. So, to the benefits of a coaching culture. It works. It improves learning and performance. Coaching is a really effective form of development because it follows the agenda of the coachee. It is always relevant and always at the right time. So it's an excellent use of people's time because it gets results and improves learning. Improved learning improves performance. Motivation and productivity improve. Productivity is also improved because there is something really motivating about working in a coaching culture where your views are sought and listened to and where other people don't always tell you what to do. In a culture where coaching is used, staff pick up the message that they have the ability to find solutions for themselves and that they are valued and trusted. It unlocks potential. The more you trust someone's ability, the more self-belief they have and the more motivated they are. Increased motivation leads to unlocking discretionary effort, the hidden reserves we hold back unless we feel really motivated or inspired to give more. Unlocking people's potential improves performance, and it also creates a motivated workforce that has pride in their work and their organisation. It improves relationships and retains talent. An atmosphere of pride, respect and motivation also leads to positive relationships. As we are all increasingly working with other teams and organisations over which we have no direct authority, the ability to build relationships is an increasingly valuable skill. A coaching culture is more likely to retain talented people because a positive culture will retain staff. Talent is more likely to be spotted because coaching helps bring out people's abilities. In a coaching culture, all staff are encouraged to reflect and develop further, and talented people will be able to grow if they are constantly increasing their comfort zone. It helps people cope with change better. A coaching culture helps develop the resilience and adaptability of staff and is particularly recommended in organisations undergoing continuous, frequent, or even disruptive change. Asking someone a question shows you value them and gives them responsibility. A coaching culture can build staff responsibility so they are able to respond to change and issues that arise. Coaching helps problem solve, spot what is holding people back, and then motivates them to actually make a change, so it can be helpful in building resilience. The benefits for you as a leader are that communications and relationship improve and you make better use of your people's skills. This means you spend less time telling people what to do, and you also spend less time dealing with people-related problems. You can delegate with confidence and focus on looking to the future. The most powerful thing you can do as a leader is have a clear set of beliefs and values and behave in accordance with these. Using coaching and building a coaching culture give evidence to staff that their manager is concerned about results, supports the achievement of these results, is interested in staff development, and makes themselves available. To sum up, the cost of not building a coaching culture is to take the risk that the capability of our people won't grow fast enough, key talent may leave, and we won't challenge ourselves to perform at our best. This quote from an article in the Harvard Business Review is a good summary. We have yet to find a company that can't benefit from more candour, less denial, richer communication, conscious development of talent, and disciplined leaders who show compassion for people. Some final questions for you. Think about your teams. What would an average 10% performance improvement mean to you? What amount of time and energy would you have to put in for this to be worthwhile? Can you afford not to build a coaching culture?
I wanted you to see this video for two reasons. One, to see how important it is in the organizations. Organizations are now trying to create coaching cultures, not telling people what to do, but coaching them so they can get the best performance. But also, you noticed a lot of concepts that we've discussed in terms of coaching. People are used to being told what to do. They don't like being told what to do, but she said in this video, they are used to it. And one of the key pieces in this video was the commitment to practice. You make a commitment to practice so that in your community, in your organization, because as a coach, you're seen as a leader. She talked about leader, but you're seen as a leader, that when you can get the teachers, some of you have 5 or 6 coachees that you're working with. And if they were all dependent on you, you would be able to sustain yourself in terms of your own energy and cognition. But to watch them develop and unfold to make a difference for children, because the bottom line is children. For many years, the focus has been on adults. But we coach teachers so that our children are the beneficiaries of it. It's all about the children. It's all about making sure they can hit targets. Were there any other ideas or concepts that just shouted out to you as you watched this video? Because basically it was a summary of what we've been talking about.
For me, it kind of resonated because in my district, we've had a lot of turnover. And when you talk about retaining people and getting people to stay, I'm just hoping I have a new principal coming in the fall. And I'm just hoping that that's her style because, you know, my vice principal says all the time, my assistant principal says all the time, you shouldn't have to recreate the wheel, because look at all the wealth of knowledge that we have in our staff. We have so many staff members. They need to, participate. They need to be active in the planning and discussions, because it affects them, and she says that. So I'm hoping that my new principal comes in with that coaching culture, so we can retain some of the young. We have some really talented young teachers that really love the kids. And I always say that compassion and love for the kids is something that you can't teach. And so when you see the young people come in and they're inspired, you want to be able to coach them so that they can problem solve and be resilient enough to feel successful and want to be part of the team and stay, and not look to go somewhere else for support.
Exactly. Thank you, Robin. You're correct, because we're losing a lot of great talent with our younger teachers. They don't feel valued. And many new teachers, young teachers coming into the field have a lot to offer, because they're still reading the research and some of the outstanding strategies that are available that some who have been around for years are not utilizing. So you're right. And so a coaching culture, we need a coaching culture. If you have 30 people on your staff, you have a wealth of cognitive capital. If we learn how to tap into the cognitive capital in our buildings, we could figure out a lot of the problems that we're facing today. Because developing the coaching community is the key. The next slide. Because it tells us that in community, we figure out how to navigate the maze of knowledge and come to deeper collective understanding, which is the real value of cognitive capital. So we have a wealth of knowledge. If we can tap it through coaching to mediation, we will be able to figure out some of the most serious issues that we deal with in our building. I've had the opportunity to see the model work in many cities where the staff is so tight and the coaching is so valued and the commitment to do it. And these teams are able to figure out all kinds of strategies. And because the leader understood the value of coaching, and the coaches understood the value of coaching and advocated it for it. So the next slide, so we can get into the deeper work. So day 3, you received instruction to do some work. And we talked about how do we set up a model to create a coaching community. And the first one was we had to clearly define our identity. We had to define our identity. Who are we? Why are we doing this? And why are we doing it this way? So why are we doing this? Why are we continuing to use this strategy and it's not working, right? That's the first questions as you begin to think about your community. Then building relational trust. Trust is ensured. So it's the firm belief in the reliability, truth, capability, or strength of someone. So how do we build that in our community? We do it by being transparent, telling the truth, holding each other up, giving feedback. Feedback is one of the key components of this. The third step was having shared expectations and norms for collaboration. And we talked about having a body of knowledge and expertise that everyone buys into. And that's the pausing and the paraphrasing and posing effective questions, that we encourage each other to share our ideas, that we trust each other to make good decisions, and we assume positive intent. What does that mean? It means that people are functioning at their very best at their level of consciousness. Their intention is not to do bad things or wrong things, but they're functioning at their level of consciousness. How do you intervene on consciousness? through mediation. Mediation helps individuals to see and hear what they're thinking. And then we talked about setting aside unproductive listening patterns so that we're not trying to tell people what to do. We set that aside. We stop jumping in, telling our stories. We set those things aside. And then you want to have a model for giving feedback. And giving feedback is very, very important. So we talked about these things as a model to begin to set up your community. The next slide. So your task, because I'm going to hear from you as we break into small groups concerning what you designed. Your task was to develop the coaching community to build capacity through active listening. That was your task. So your goal was to create a transparent, collaborative working community with mediation as the focus. You were going to decide how you would use your coaching skills and your everyday experiences in your meetings, your personal interactions, any workshops that you did. You're going to talk about how you would use the skills. You would decide on how often would you meet. And some of you decided you would have weekly feedback sessions to explore your challenges and successes. And when you do that, when you meet on a regular basis, it builds trust. And you were going to discuss monthly in-house coaching sessions where you observed each other coaching and giving feedback to expand your practice. So you were given that task day 3. So today, what we're going to do to bring it all together, the next slide is we're going to do some group presentations. So with your group members, those who you've been working with over the months to create your coaching community, you're going to prepare a 7-minute presentation highlighting the following. How did you structure your group? How was it structured? What were your goals and expectations? How often did you meet? Did you use a model of feedback? If yes, explain it, share it. What were some of your successes and challenges trying to come together as a group? Were you able to do it? Were you able to meet? What happened? Did you find your coaching community beneficial? And what questions need further exploration? So you're going to have 10 minutes to prepare your presentations. So you'll be divided into your groups. You will select a spokesperson to share your thinking and responses. So Laura knows the groups that you're going to be divided into. You'll let us know at the end of 10 minutes if you need additional time to organize your presentation. And then you will prepare a 7-minute presentation. Now, you may not need 7 minutes to share. We just want to make sure you have enough time to share. But I'm really interested in hearing what the work that you did. Did you pull this together? Did you develop a strategy for creating a support network? And so that's going to be important for all of us to explore together. What questions might you have concerning the task? I want you to notice how I posed that question. I didn't say, do you have any questions? Because if I said, do you have any questions? Your immediate thought might be no or yes. That's a probing for specificity. But I stated it this way. What questions might you have concerning this task? So you stop to think, do I have any questions? Well, not now, but maybe some will come up later. You see the difference in the way I posed it? Very intentional. Every move I make is very intentional. High consciousness around my intention. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. It's practice. It requires practice. Revisit the slides from day one. Revisit the slides from day two. It's a great activity for you all to do together in your community to hone your skills at a very deep level so that you are intentional about all your moves. Okay? So since there are no questions, that communicates to me you're ready to rock and roll in your groups to prepare your presentations.
And I just wanted to let everybody know, I know that some of your district, coach groups are not all present today. So what I've tried to do is lean into some of our existing coaching communities here at Winresa. I've got 3 rooms. So when I open up these rooms, you'll be able to select, there's a COSA number 1, COSA number 2, and COSA number 3. There's also the ELN, that's the Early Literacy Network that some of our PSAs are involved in. We also have a coaching network. So that's a room possibility. If you're a RESA group, you can pick that room. And then I have other number 1, other number 2, and other number 3. And I can always add rooms if we need more others that I don't, know in advance what you'll choose. But what I thought you could do for a minute is if you do have partners in this session, whether you want to do a direct message through the chat or even unmute and say, I'm going into this room, you're welcome to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms. And once you've secured which one you'll go to, oh, sure, Kathy, I can do a Plymouth Canton. I'll add it right now. And if anyone else has a room you need, let me know. All right, everyone's back.
Okay, welcome back. So I'll be looking for volunteers to speak and I know you select your spokesperson who will represent the voice of your team. And we know that you're going to give a dynamite presentation. So who would like to start?
I can start.
Beth, yes, ma'am.
All right, so I was in a group of 3 plus your doctoral student. So there were 3 COSA, so other than myself, there were 2 other COSAs. So we were a group of COSAs, and it took us a while to figure out. We had a hard time understanding if this was something we should have been doing, like meeting with coaches from our district in the past, and then reflecting on it. And then we finally realized that we probably wanted the fact that you put us in a COSA group, or that we finally got to reflecting on the COSAs. So that took a while. But we got there. So the goal, the structure of the group, as COSAs, the structure of the group was a statewide plan to implement the literacy expectations for the state and to train us in the literacy essentials so that we could bring that to our districts better. So that's the structure of the group, the goals and the expectations. Also we were expected to learn as COSAs some coaching methodology so that we can coach better. So not just know the literacy essentials, but also know how to be a better coach. How often did we meet? We met frequently, depending on when you started and what, at least every 2 months, but sometimes more than that because there were a variety of different kinds of meetings. What model of feedback and or support did we use? We used, there were sessions where they gave us information, but we did a lot of breakout groups, which were awesome because then we were able to share what was going on, especially like there were 2 of us in our group of 3 that didn't have coaches in the district besides ourselves. So to have that community was incredibly powerful. We did role plays. Some of it was group meets like what we're doing now. Our successes and challenges. I'm trying to remember what we said for that. Some of our successes, so our successes is that we are really bringing the literacy essentials to our districts probably better than it was done before. So that we are making an impact. Knowledge is getting out and changing. The challenges of it all is that probably everyone's doing it a little differently. They're hitting the literacy essentials a little differently, and so that might be challenging. And just, I don't know, I think there's not enough of us. So that's a challenge to bring that. We all found our coaching community very beneficial. This has been amazing. And what questions do we need for further exploration? I think, well, my question was, and then Michelle and Kathy can speak up if they want, but my question was, I'm worried, like that I know the grant is working to keep us for one more year, but I'm worried what will happen after that. I'm worried that I might go back to a classroom, or that there might not be grant money to support the continuance of all this understanding. And just as I feel like I understood the literacy stuff better up front, but I feel like I'm just really beginning to understand all the coaching language and behaviors I should be doing. And I feel like next year, year 3 will be that year that comes to fruition. And then I'll be sad if that goes down. Did Michelle and Kathy, did we have any other questions? No, we might not have.
We talked at length about that, about where coaching was going after next year.
Yes, which is a concern. First, thank you, Beth, for a very nice presentation. And thank you for the transparency of highlighting that there's 2 things. One, the literacy component of it is going well. And we're questioning what additional supports we need for the coaching part of it. And that's important to explore. And you made a very powerful statement that being in community was very powerful. And that's important. And that's the first step to getting you into competency around your coaching skills. So you're working on the essentials, the literacy essentials. The coaching skills will take you to the next level, because it will provide for you a template for expanding the thinking of your group. It will help you to pose more deeper questions for each other, and to paraphrase and pause and hone your skills. So we're just affirming that you'll have money for next year, so that you can continue to do the great work.
We have money for one more year. I'm worried beyond that year.
Okay, we were right. Okay, so next year you're going to focus a lot on your coaching skills, right?
Yes.
And hone those. You know a lot now, but in your group, you will be able to assess more effectively what needs to improve. So thank you, Beth. And who was a part of your team? Michelle and
Kathy Gray.
Kathy. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next group. Come on down.
I'll go.
Hey,
okay. So it was me and Kathy Williams, and we are from Plymouth Canton, and we are, can I share my screen?
Yes.
I'll just share what we came up with. Okay. All right, so as I talked earlier, our districts, so last year we had for elementary, we had one K3 ELA coach, which is Aaron Pell. And then we had a ELA coach for 4th and 5th grade. And then I was the math coach for K5 for 14 elementary schools and about 300 teachers. Like I said earlier, we're changing our coaching framework. So we're going to have 2 district level coaches focus on kindergarten, and then building level coaches for focusing on grades 1 through 3, and then 2 district level coaches for 4th and 5th grade.
So we're expanding, expanding our coaching group. And we met formally every other week to kind of debrief about different things. But hopefully next year to have our meetings will be more purposeful and less like housekeeping and more training for the coaches. And then we're going to have coaching contingents. So a building is going to have one of the kindergarten coaches, a building level coach, and one of the 4 or 5 coaches, and we're going to work together as a team. So we're calling those coaching contingents. But this past year, we had individual coaching sessions, and we would just have a summary where we would kind of review with the teacher what we covered in the coaching session. But we also used surveys to find out what needs were there. We kind of had 2 different, like some teachers wanted coaching continuously, like the whole school year. And then many of the teachers were like, we just need to meet with you one time and we're fine. But we do feel like one of the successes and the challenges is that we worked with to make sure that math workshop was implemented, and the teachers that we worked with definitely were more successful implementing math workshop. But we still have a lot of room to grow in that area. Our surveys showed that coaching helped teachers to understand and implement the program, along with differentiating instruction. But our question that we have with the expansion of our coaching is how can we most effectively train and deploy our new coaches for maximum impact. And I didn't put this on here, but we did talk about how we're gonna do some coaching training with the new coaches, just 2 days in August, and then again have it be continuous throughout the year, more training as the year goes on. So that's coaching in Plymouth Canton.
All right, thank you, Mary Beth.
Can I add on to that just quickly?
Yes.
One of the things also that Mary Beth and I did was, if teachers were open to us going to their PLC time, then we could kind of coach or work with an entire grade level at a school. And I think that was helpful for teachers because after we left, they could continue the conversation as a grade level. And one of our biggest challenges, as the first group mentioned, is the ratio of coach to teachers and the ability to reach as many teachers as possible. And we found that although a PLC is not very individualized, it is a small group that allows you to work with more teachers, which was helpful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. We have an opportunity to see your thinking. When you do your coaching training in August, you want to focus on, in addition to the other strategies that you're going to use, work with them on paraphrasing, because both of you, your team, you know how to do it. So trust yourself. You know how to do it. So you don't have to try to teach them everything, but if you can teach them how to paraphrase, the 2 types of paraphrase, that will assist you. And that will help your teachers begin to think more independently on their own. So they don't need you as much, because the goal is to release them to their thinking, right? So add that as a component of your training.
I definitely think it's going to be part of the training that our curriculum director is going to do.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you, ladies. It was Mary Beth, Kathy, and
it was just Mary Beth and Kathy.
All right. Go ahead. All right. Thank you. Okay, the next team. Let's give the last 2 teams a clap. The last 2. Yay. All right. Okay, number 3. Who is the spokesperson for the group 3?
I'll go. Robin is a spokesperson for Lynn and Karen. So we kind of had a hodgepodge because we all wear different hats. So we were in one of those other groups. I actually am a secondary coach in my district. Karen is a K5 coach in her district. She's a lone ranger. K3, which is even lower, yes. And then Lynn does ELL, right, Lynn? And so we all wear different hats. So I did a lot of the talking because they don't have a collective team. So in my district, we have about 8 people on the secondary team. And we met regularly and we had a running agenda. It was pretty formal and we could put feedback there and questions. Our agenda could be edited by anybody that is a coach. We could add things to the agenda. So, and we also had a running chat open. So we had plenty of opportunity to communicate to each other about our meetings and what we wanted to talk about. The difficulty was because we have high school, VOTEC, and middle school. So our focuses were different, right? And so it kind of posed some challenges for us in our weekly meetings because things that the middle school needed to be initiating at the beginning of the year were different than what the high school needed to be doing. And VOTEC was just an entity all by itself, because the teachers in the VOTEC were career people who were not trained teachers. And so that coaching model was unique to the individual teacher, whatever course they were teaching, not like a, English department, social studies department type of thing. So we decided to address some of our challenges, to adopt in our district a common focus. So like the previous person that was speaking, we're going to be coaching through PLCs. So that gives us an opportunity to have a greater impact on groups. Hopefully the group goal and the group success will have a greater impact on our student performance in our school. One of the challenges, though, was that a lot of people didn't respect our work. And they didn't think that when we were having these weekly meetings that we were like having productive meetings. So I suggested, I'm the newest coach on the team, that we start hosting it at our schools. And that way principals can pop in the morning and they can see faces and they can see the agenda. And they could even sit down and chit chat or even talk to us about our work. So they would see us as doing meaningful work. So my group kind of loved the fact, Lynn and Karen, that I had this unique opportunity this year first year to experience some challenges. I was telling them about, I was working with coaching a teacher who had classroom management issues, and I was coaching her and we were working together. She respected me, in my opinion, and I think she felt too comfortable. She actually made a remark that she was going to be going to another district because the demographics were more like her. And she thought that she was ineffective at our school because she couldn't relate to the kids. And interesting enough, she went to another district where the demographics were like her, and she still had the same challenges, and she's no longer in education. And Lynn was saying she wished I would have been courageous enough as a first year coach to really have, what did you say, Lynn? I should have said to her.
I said, I understand your position. It was your first month of being a literacy coach. And when she was putting down people, children of color, it was hard for you. You just said, oh, well, you're leaving. Okay. You were probably just glad that she was leaving, Robin. But, sometimes we have to speak up, and we can always do it in a polite way, but we need to speak up. And if we're feeling afraid, we can just think of our children, how much they need us. Um, but I like your idea, Robin, of being at the schools and uh, just continuing with the coaching.
Yeah.
And,
So Dr. Jackson, how would you have addressed that?
Oh, that would have been a wonderful coaching opportunity. And see, and that type of situation, that's when suspension, remember we talked about it at the first day, you suspend judgment first, right? And so a great entry for her would have been, so Miss Johnson, you're feeling that you are not making connections with the children and that you may not have the skills to work with this population. And she says, yes. And you value all children learning. Yes. Share with me what you mean by not being able to work with this demographic. Do you hear it? So now I'm not judging her. She may not know, so now you're mediating. She might say, well, I don't feel that I'm making a connection. Tell me more about connection. So then you help her to mediate her thinking instead of escaping. Because from the story you've shared, she wanted to know. She didn't know what to do. So a mediator, and for all of you, you have to be highly skilled and a lot of practice. So we don't expect you to do this, Robin. But when I was hearing the story, I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to jump in there with this one. Because we learn how to honor each other. We don't judge the statement. People will make statements to see how it resonates, how people respond to it. And when you go in there non-judgmentally and say, so you're wondering if you can continue to do this work and you're questioning your skill set. She might say, well, no, I'm not questioning my skill set. I don't think I can connect. You pause and do what? Paraphrase. So it's not your skill set you're concerned with. It's more of your connection. Yes. So when you suspend and non-judgmental, just totally present, which we talked about last time, you can hear what's really being said and you can mediate it. Because she carried herself, whatever that was that she didn't get mediation around, she carried that with her to the next position. So it wasn't demographics. It was her confidence about her skill set, which got cased in demographic. So once you learn how to be total present, this requires practice, but I'm just honored that Robin and Lynn, you shared this experience and mentioned that Lynn said if you were more courageous. That's great, because that's what a community does. We want transparency and to help each other think through it. Yes. So thank you for that. Karen, did you want to add to something that your group said?
I just want to say I'm really part of the COSA group, but I was so blessed to be in fellowship with these ladies around this conversation, because it really helped me to expand my thinking around suspending judgment.
Yes.
And getting to the place where I can mediate in the conversation and walk away not in my feelings.
Yes, exactly. And that's powerful, Karen. So and mediators mediate emotion. That's why I opened this day with self-reflection, right? I have to do the work on me first so that my consciousness is high and I can be in non-judgment for the good of the coachee. So self-reflection is the key. And then I can really hear what's being said. Because no one wants to destroy children. No one. What they need is to understand why they're feeling the way they feel. Like a teacher said to me, all the boys in this classroom are bad. I said, so for you, the boys tend to be the most active and disruptive. She said, yes. I said, you mentioned all the boys. Tell me more. Well, it's not all of them. It's 5 of them. So now I have more data, right? So there are 5 boys that tend to be disruptive in the classroom. She says, yes. As you think about those 5 boys, what might be some reasons for their disruption? And she stopped and thought about it. She says, well, whenever I teach new material, they always act out. Now I'm getting all the data. Are you getting the thread? I'm getting all the data. So when she teaches new materials, the students reject it because it's hard for them. So she wouldn't get there without me. She would help get to that understanding without me posing the questions and asking. She would have walked away thinking all the boys, but it was only 5. Then as we probed deeper, found out that 2 of them were non-readers. And she was frustrated with that. Then it was time for me to become the consultant. Now I have strategies for you. See? So it's wonderful that your team just kind of, went in there and massaged that and looked at it. So continue to do that level of work, having the open, honest conversations, having your PLCs, as you mentioned, Robin, y'all going to start meeting in smaller groups and use your skills. All of you, I invite you, work on paraphrasing. It is the power skill. And you will learn over time with practice how to do it skillfully. Skillfully. You're doing a great job now just working through it, but it takes years. I've been doing this for 25 years, coaching. So it's automaticity for me. It's my identity. But when I first started, my daughters used to say, Mom, what are you doing? Please. No. What? So with practice, we get there. Thank you, team. Give them a clap. Do we have one more? One more group?
Yeah, I had a group of 3 people. I had Kathleen and Brianna. We each have a different structure. I'll be really brief, but one of our goals was to provide clarity and coherence to that PLC process. So again, kind of similar to what a lot of people have mentioned. One of the things that was interesting is talking about the success and challenges, and it was kind of making sure that space is sacred when you're in those PLC processes. And so that's kind of the coaching side of it, but also how are we mindful of making sure that we're sticking to that schedule? How do we keep it cyclical? How do we keep it dependable? So that was just something that really stuck out from our groups, is those are kind of the challenges and questions that we had.
Yes, how to keep it focused. Yes. The coaching skills require some time. And I want to say this, and Kristen, you kind of triggered it for me to say this. Coaching is not curriculum focused. Okay, it's not content focused. It doesn't matter what the content is. Coaching is neutral. So it's not based on anyone's content. I can coach a scientist because it's not based on content. It's based on mediation, helping that person to think more deeply about his or her work. I want you to hold that. So if you're in a group, there may be some who are working on technical skills and others with mathematics. You can coach all of them. You don't have to know their content. You have to know your content, your coaching content, which is the PPP, pause, paraphrase, and pose powerful questions. That becomes your base, your knowledge base, but you don't have to know the other. Yeah. So thank you, Kristen, for your brief comments, but powerful comments. Who was on your team? Okay, Kathleen
and Brianna.
And Brianna. All right, Kathleen, Brianna, any additional words to say that you might want to add?
Nope, Kristen did an awesome job. Thank you for talking for us.
Okay. Did we miss any group?